I'm in the midst of my annual rewatch of Gilmore Girls, and I am here to make the case for season 7. It is by no means as good as the rest of the seasons of the show. I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's still good. There are a lot of clunky episodes, especially in the beginning, and we all hate that plot line, right? But this, I think, there's a lot of stuff that happens this season that needed to happen. I'm more in the season 7 that we could have gotten if Amy Sherman Palladino had been allowed to helm the ship. But I also recognize that the one that we got closes the chapter of the main series in exactly the way that it needed to be closed. Everyone hates this, right? Like, everyone hates Lorelai and Christopher getting together in season 7. But this is the Chekhov's gun of the show. And it finally goes off, and we are finally able to see why she was not in a love triangle to equal parts that would equally satisfy her needs. This was never going to work. And that's because Christopher can only be himself. You can only meet people as far as they have met themselves. So, like, spoiler, it's clear I don't agree with this tweet, right? Lorelai spends this entire season trying, giving her all to her relationship and later marriage with Christopher, because that's the kind of person that she is. In the same way that season 7 shows us exactly who Lorelai is, it shows us exactly who the two spokes of her love triangle are. I rarely see people talk about how deliberate a lot of the framing on this show is. When Lorelai's relationship with Luke is falling apart and she is really, really trying to hold it together and show up for him as the Lorelai who swoops in and saves the day and commits to everything that she does, we see this happen. She's sitting in Taylor's soda shop, surrounded by all of the townspeople, and they are all watching Luke and April have a father-daughter moment. Lorelai is on the same level as all of these people, which is wrong because she is the person who is engaged to Luke. And it's sad because for most of the latter half of season 6, she's trying to show up for Luke and April as the amazing partner and mother that we know that she can be, but he can't allow that. And that's because Lorelai has a way of sucking up all the sunlight in any room that she walks into. And he says that. If he lets her into this, it will become not a relationship between him and his daughter, but a relationship between him, Lorelai, and his daughter. And he'll never get to know April on his own terms. And like, we know that Luke can't do too much at one time. He can't have too many things going on. He got really lost in the beginning of his relationship with Lorelai. If you remember the episode We've Got Magic to Do, that's the episode where Rory runs the DIR function, the 40s themed DIR function. The central conflict between Luke and Lorelai in that episode is that she wants him to go and do the things that he likes to do, like fishing and camping, and she thinks that he's spending all of his time focused on her. And like, yeah, he is spending all his time focused on her, but that's because that's how he operates. When he said he was all in, he meant I'm all in. I'm focused on you. You are the center of my universe. You can't do that. You cannot have a woman be the center of your universe when you have a child. He quite literally cannot be Lorelai's fiance and April's dad at the same time. Lorelai is given the opportunity to give her everything to a relationship with Christopher, and we see her go all in because it is that serious for her. If she's going to be married, she's going to be married. We very ironically see this commitment from Lorelai the most in episode 11, which is the episode where it all falls apart. Suki finds out that she's pregnant again, and where a couple episodes prior, Christopher had kind of been pressuring Lorelai into trying for another baby. By this point, at episode 11, seeing that Suki is pregnant, thinking about how her relationship with Christopher is progressing, Lorelai is really warming up to the idea of having a baby with Christopher. She knows it's important to him. You know, it's because it's kind of a gotcha that he can hold over Luke's head, like, look, I have kids with her. But it's important to him. She's always wanted another kid. She's really, like, ready to start trying. And then Christopher finds the character reference for Luke. People struggle with this scene, rightfully so, because it feels like a very far leap to jump. He's like leaping over a chasm to get to the conclusion that he gets to. But I think it makes sense. He reads the letter as a love letter, not because of any of the words that are contained in it, but because the idea of him having any competition is too much for him to handle. The idea of him always being the second choice to Luke is too much for him to handle. He's used to having this woman as a constant maybe. They've known each other for decades. They've never been able to get it together. She has rejected his marriage proposal prior. And when he's finally able to kind of solidify a life with her and be able to move forward, there's this other guy that she might be interested in. And there's a level of possessiveness coming from Christopher. He wants to own her the way that he has been used to owning her. And because there is another man who not only is potential competition, but is very likely a better option for her, he can't handle it. So what does he do? He falls off the face of the earth, like he always does, which was fine when he was abandoning a child to be raised by her loving, responsible teenage mother in a town of misfit weirdos, but it's not acceptable in a marriage. There's no one to pick up the slack in a relationship between two people. A baby can have surrogates, a baby can be raised by a village, a baby can be taken care of, but when you are in a relationship with one other person and you decide to clock out, there's no one who's going to come and clock in for you. The same way he struggles to recognize and atone for the real damage that he did to Rory by abandoning her, he can't realize that bailing for days on his marriage is going to put it seriously in danger. And Lorelai can't pick up the slack because she can't fix the relationship all on her own. She could raise Rory on her own, but she can't raise Christopher into the husband that she deserves. You can only meet people as far as they've met themselves. And so when she needs Chris the most, he's not there. Her father has had a heart attack. He's in the hospital, and Christopher is incommunicado. Who is there, though? Luke. In a brilliant mirror of one of my favorite episodes from season 1, Luke shows up to the hospital when Lorelai and Lorelai's family need him the most. He shows up, literally and figuratively, and that's the type of person he is. That is the difference between these two men. He might be late, but he's going to be there. Whereas Christopher disappears, he runs, he cracks under pressure very easily. He, in fact, only likes easy. If he has to work for something, it's not worth having. But Luke, once he has his relationship with April established and under his belt, he can finally show up for Lorelai the way that she deserves without overextending himself. You can only meet people as far as they've met themselves. And Luke has met himself further. Throughout season 7, he's grown and he's realized that sometimes it's more important to put our fears and anxieties and worries aside and show up for the people we love when it's hard. And Chris hates doing any of that. He hates putting his fears and anxieties aside, and he hates showing up. He's not equipped to be married, least of all to be married to Lorelai, a person who gives a lot and deserves to receive a lot in return. And the issue is that Lorelai thinks that choosing Christopher is enough. She thinks that all she has to do is decide to be in a relationship with him and want to be in a relationship with him, and that's all it's going to take. And a lot of women think that. A lot of women choose to be with men who don't deserve them, men who are not up to their standards, men who don't give them as much as they know that they need in a relationship. And they're okay with that because they say, isn't it so romantic and beautiful that I have chosen you even in spite of all of this adversity? Meanwhile, these men want perfect. They don't want competition. They don't want struggle. They have their ideal of who they want as a woman, and anything other than that is not going to be acceptable. But also, if there's any obstacle to them and that woman being together, for example, another man, it's not worth it. In Chris's mind, if he has to choose to be with Lorelai, then the relationship is not worth having because choosing requires work. And he understands intrinsically that her choosing him is almost like him losing because he knows that he doesn't deserve her, but she's going to be with him anyway because she is committed to doing the things that she says she's going to do. And he knows that Luke does deserve her. The thing is, he can't handle his own inadequacy. He couldn't when she turned him down after he proposed when she was pregnant with Rory, and now he can't spend the rest of his life realizing that the only reason that she's with him is because she chose to give him the prize and not because he deserved it or earned it. And what does it take for Lorelai to finally give up on the marriage? She meets herself further. She realizes that she should not have chosen Chris even if Luke wasn't in the picture. There's a reason she didn't say yes to him 22 years ago when he proposed, and there's a reason that she shouldn't be married to him now. She deserves better than doing 80% of the work to make her marriage work. And stubbornly plodding along when things aren't working is how her relationship with Luke fell apart. It kept her daughter from the world of access that she knew she would have to return to in order for her daughter to succeed. And it kept her holding on to a relationship with someone who showed her time and time again that he couldn't show up for her. It was time to leave stubbornness behind and realize you can't force things to work. I love this lesson and I love this season.